We have fought for the same things: justice, equality, freedom, the dignity of our people. Our ancestors' blood courses through our veins, and we are the children of warriors, of survivors, of dreamers who dared to hope for something better. And in this shared legacy, we find the strength to rise against the forces that seek to divide us, to oppress us, to silence our voices. The history of Black people, whether in Africa or America, has been one of resilience in the face of relentless struggle. We have lived through the horrors of slavery, through the violence of colonization, through the systematic erasure of our culture and our identity. But my friends, we have also survived and thrived in ways that the world cannot ignore. We have resisted, we have rebuilt, and now we are stronger than ever. Here, in this room, in every home, in every heart of Black America, you hold the power of that history. The civil rights movement that shook the very foundations of this nation was not just an American struggle, it was the struggle of all Black people. The courage of Martin Luther King Jr., the fearlessness of Malcolm X, the revolutionary spirit of Angela Davis. These figures were not just fighting for equality in the United States, they were fighting for the liberation of Black people everywhere. Their fight inspired us in Africa to rise up against colonial oppression. And today, their legacy continues to fuel our fight for sovereignty, for justice, and for a world where Black lives are not just tolerated, but celebrated. But let me be clear, we cannot afford to be divided. The struggle for freedom does not know borders. It is the same battle being fought in the streets of Ferguson as it is in the villages of Burkina Faso. It is the same fight being waged against the police violence that Black Americans face every day, and against the exploitation of our resources and our people that Africa continues to suffer under. We are brothers and sisters in arms, bound by a shared history of oppression and a common dream of liberation. You, the people of Black America, have been the beacon of hope for so many of us in Africa. Your music, your art, your culture have shaped the world in ways that no other force could. Your power, your voice has changed the course of history, but the fight is not over. As long as there are systems that keep Black people oppressed, we are all still fighting. That is why I stand with you today to remind you of your power, to remind you that you are not alone. The fight for freedom and justice is long, but it is a fight we must continue together. Do not forget the strength of your ancestors, the warriors who were not afraid to stand up, to speak out, to demand what is rightfully ours. We owe it to them, to our children and to ourselves, to continue that fight. But we cannot win this battle alone. We must stand in solidarity with each other. We must build bridges between the African diaspora and Black Americans. Our struggles are one and the same. The liberation of Africa is tied to the liberation of Black America. When we stand together, there is nothing that can break us. We are a force that cannot be ignored. The power of knowledge, of culture, of unity, these are the weapons that will ensure our victory. We must teach our children about the greatness of our heritage, the richness of our cultures, the brilliance of our people. We must remind them that they are not born to be slaves, to be second-class citizens. They are born to be leaders, to be warriors, to be visionaries who can change the world. But to do that, we must also empower ourselves economically. We must stop depending on the systems that have failed us and build our own. We must invest in our own communities, support our businesses, create institutions that reflect our values, our dreams, and our needs. Our financial power is our weapon. With it, we can create the world we deserve. And finally, my brothers and sisters, we must never lose hope. There will be days when the road seems impossible, when the weight of our history feels too heavy to bear. But we must remember that every victory, every step forward, has come because we refuse to give up. We have endured, we have fought, and we will continue to rise. I call on you today to remember who you are. You are descendants of kings and queens, of warriors and revolutionaries. You have the blood of ancestors who fought for freedom in the face of impossible odds. You have the spirit of Marcus Garvey, the courage of Rosa Parks, the determination of Nelson Mandela. Together we will build a world where Black people are free, where our children can walk in the light of their full potential without fear, without limitations. Together we will fight for a future where Black lives matter, not just in the streets, but in the halls of power, in the corridors of education, in the boardrooms, in every part of society. So let us stand together, shoulder to shoulder. Let us build a future where Black America and Africa rise together, united by a common cause, driven by an unbreakable will, and let the world know we are not just survivors, we are victors. We will not stop until justice is served, until every Black life is treated with the respect and dignity it deserves. We are one, we are strong, and we will rise. My brothers and sisters, today, as I stand before you, I am reminded of a truth that binds us together. No matter where we are on this earth, we are one. The pain that our ancestors endured, the suffering they faced, is not something from the past. It lives within us, in our very DNA, and as much as they tried to break us, to erase us, they failed. We are here today, not just as survivors, but as a living testament to their strength, to their resilience, and to their dreams of freedom. From Africa to the Americas, we share a history, one that was written in blood, sweat, and tears, a history that speaks of men and women who were stripped of their dignity, their freedom, and their humanity. A history that tells the story of people who were torn from their homes, shackled in chains, and forced to build empires on the backs of their own suffering. It is a history of violence, of oppression, but it is also a history of resistance, of courage, and of survival. Our people, from the moment we were first captured and taken from our homelands, fought back in every way we could. Slavery was meant to break us, to make us forget who we were, to erase our history. Yet we fought with every fiber of our being to hold on to our humanity. Whether in the brutal plantations of the Americas or the fields of Africa, we resisted. We resisted in the quiet moments, through songs, through stories passed down in whispers, and we resisted in the loudest, most powerful ways, through uprisings, through revolts, through the will to survive. But let's not mistake resistance for victory, because the scars of this history are still very much alive. In America, you faced the brutality of slavery, followed by the enduring oppression of segregation, racism, and discrimination. You fought and continue to fight for your dignity, your humanity, in a country that built itself on your labor, on your suffering, but denied you your rightful place in it. Your fight against the chains of slavery, the civil rights battles, the cries for justice against police brutality, these struggles are a reflection of the deep and enduring wounds that we all carry. In Africa, our story is no different. The chains of colonialism were not much different from the chains of slavery. The exploitation of our resources, the destruction of our cultures, the brutal domination of our people. Colonialism was meant to break us, to turn us into subjects of foreign powers who had no interest in our well-being. And when they left, they did not leave behind a continent that was free. They left behind artificial borders, governments that served their interest and not ours, economies that continue to drain us dry, and systems that continue to oppress us. And so Africa too has been in a constant fight for freedom, for the right to define our own future. And yet what connects the struggle of Black Americans with the struggle of Africans is this: we are still fighting the same battle, the fight against colonialism, the fight against systemic racism, the fight against exploitation. It is all one struggle. You see, the forces that oppressed us, that sought to break our spirits, they are not gone. They simply shifted their tactics. They built new systems of control, new structures of power that still seek to keep us divided, to make us believe that our struggles are different, that they are separate. But I am here to tell you that we are not separate. Our fight is one. The chains may look different today. They may not be visible, but they are there. The shackles may have been replaced with institutions that tell us we are less than, with systems that deny us equality, that force us to fight for justice in every aspect of our lives, whether it's in the courtroom, in the workplace, or on the streets. But these are the same forces that have been at work for centuries. The system that oppressed Black Americans and the system that continues to exploit Africa are connected. They are both rooted in the same soil of racism, colonialism, and white supremacy. And so we must understand that the oppression of Black people in the United States is not a story that belongs only to Black Americans. It is a global story. It is a story of Africa's stolen riches, of the forced migration of our ancestors, of the violent taking of our labor, our land, and our lives. It is a story that stretches from the shores of Africa to the fields of the American South, from the halls of colonial governments to the modern-day prisons and streets of both continents. And it is a story that is still being written today. But the story does not end with oppression. No, it is a story of resistance, of courage, and of defiance. It is a story of people who refused to accept their fate, who fought with everything they had to reclaim their dignity, their freedom, their place in this world. From the abolitionists in the United States to the independence movements in Africa, our people have fought for one thing above all: our right to be free. And freedom is what we continue to fight for today. The struggle of Black Americans, the fight against police brutality, the demand for justice, for equality, this is not just your fight. It is the fight of all of us. The struggle of Black America is the struggle of all Black people. And if we are to ever break these chains that bind us, whether they are physical, economic, or social, we must fight together. The wounds may still be fresh, the scars still visible, but we are stronger than ever. We are stronger because we are not alone. We are stronger because we stand together. And our strength lies not in forgetting the past, but in using it as fuel to build a future where our children will no longer have to fight the battles we fought, where they will live in a world where their worth is never questioned, where their humanity is never denied. Our struggle is not just one of survival, but one of power. We will not only fight to survive, we will fight to thrive. And we will do this together as one. The past may have shaped us, but it will not define us. Our future will be shaped by our unity, our strength, and our unwavering belief in the dignity of every Black life, everywhere. My brothers and sisters, it is impossible to talk about the struggle for justice and equality without acknowledging the monumental impact that Black Americans have had on the world. The battles that you have fought, the sacrifices you have made, have not only changed the landscape of America, but have reverberated across the globe, inspiring revolutions, movements, and struggles for freedom far beyond these shores. When I speak of your struggle, I am not just talking about the events that unfolded here in the United States. I am speaking of a legacy that transcends borders and races, a legacy that has ignited the flames of resistance in the hearts of those who have been oppressed across the world. The struggle of Black Americans, from the first whispers of the abolition movement to the civil rights battles of the 20th century, has been a beacon of hope for all people who have suffered under the weight of injustice, who have been denied their humanity. We can begin with Martin Luther King Jr., a man whose vision of peace and equality was so powerful that it touched the hearts of millions, not only here in America but all around the world. His fight for civil rights was not just about Black Americans gaining freedom, it was about all of humanity being free from the shackles of hatred, segregation, and injustice. Dr. King understood that the struggle of Black people was not just a local issue but a global one. His message resonated in places far from the streets of Montgomery or Selma, from the villages in Africa to the cities in Asia, where people who were fighting their own battles for freedom saw in his words their own struggles reflected back at them. When Dr. King marched for justice, when he gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, he was not just speaking for the Black community in the United States. He was speaking for the oppressed and marginalized everywhere. His dream was not confined to one nation, one race, or one people. His dream was a global vision of justice, equality, and peace for all. And it is because of his tireless work and his willingness to sacrifice everything that the civil rights movement became, not just an American struggle, but a beacon of inspiration for the world. From the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa to the struggles for independence in colonized nations, Dr. King's influence was felt everywhere. And then there is Malcolm X, a man whose vision of Black empowerment and self-determination reverberated across the globe. While Dr. King advocated for peaceful resistance, Malcolm X spoke to the necessity of self-defense, of Black people taking control of their own destiny without waiting for permission. His journey from a man caught in the streets of Harlem to a global voice for African liberation was nothing short of revolutionary. His call for unity among Black people worldwide, his recognition that the struggle of Black Americans was tied to the struggles of Black people everywhere, helped to sow the seeds of solidarity that have sprouted in countless liberation movements across Africa, the Caribbean, and beyond. Malcolm X's teachings inspired a generation of Black leaders, not just in America, but in places like Algeria, where Frantz Fanon drew heavily on Malcolm's ideas as he fought against French colonialism. In Cuba, figures like Fidel Castro and Che Guevara saw the parallels between the oppression of Black Americans and the struggle of their own people. And across Africa, Malcolm's message of black self-determination and pride was embraced by those who were fighting against the remnants of colonialism. His vision of Pan-Africanism, of unity among all people of African descent, laid the groundwork for movements that would change the course of history. And the legacy of Black American struggle has continued to inspire leaders across the world. From Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana to Nelson Mandela in South Africa, the example set by Black Americans has been a guiding light. Nkrumah, who led the first African country to gain independence from colonial rule, was deeply influenced by the civil rights movements in America. He saw in the struggles of Black Americans the struggle of Africa itself. Both were fighting for freedom from external oppression and for the dignity of their people. The same can be said for Mandela, who, while imprisoned on Robben Island, drew strength from the words of W. Du Bois and the sacrifices made by Black Americans in their fight for justice. But the global impact of Black America's struggle goes beyond just political leaders or revolutions. It lives in the streets, in the songs, in the art, and in the everyday people who, like you, have refused to accept a world that denies their humanity. The cultural revolution that has emerged from Black America has reshaped the world in profound ways, from jazz to hip-hop, from literature to fashion. The creativity, the ingenuity, the spirit of Black Americans has influenced every corner of the earth. Your music, your art, your voice have given the world a glimpse into the struggles and joys of Black life. But more importantly, it has given the world a way to hear the voices of the oppressed, to see the resilience of a people who have endured so much and yet continue to rise. When Black Americans rise, when you speak, when you fight, the world takes notice. The images of Rosa Parks sitting defiantly on that bus, of John Lewis marching across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, of Angela Davis standing in defiance against the prison industrial complex, these images have become symbols not just of American struggle, but of global resistance. They are reminders to all of us that we are not alone in our fight for justice, that the power of Black America to change the world is limitless. Even today, the global impact of Black America's struggle is seen in every protest, in every call for justice, in every community demanding equality. The Black Lives Matter movement, which began in the streets of America, has spread across continents, from Europe to Africa to Asia, as people everywhere have embraced the fight for justice, dignity, and the recognition of the humanity of Black people. The rallying cry, Black Lives Matter, is not just a demand for justice in the United States. It is a universal declaration that the lives of Black people everywhere. So when we talk about the global impact of Black America's struggle, we are not just talking about a series of historical moments. We are talking about a legacy of resistance, of revolution, of empowerment that continues to inspire movements and leaders around the world. You have, through your struggles, created a global movement for justice, one that knows no boundaries, one that will not be silenced. And as long as your fight continues, the fight for justice and equality will continue everywhere. My brothers and sisters, as I stand before you today, I want to speak from the heart about something that is crucial to our future, the bond between Black Americans and Africans, the strength that lies in our unity, and the power we can unleash when we come together as one people. The struggle for freedom, dignity, and equality is not confined to any one place. It is a universal fight, one that has spanned centuries and continues to shape our world. The pain we have felt, the oppression we have suffered, and the injustices we face are not separate issues, but part of a single intertwined story. It is the story of people who have been stolen from their homelands, denied their humanity, and forced to fight for their rightful place in the world. And it is a story that we share both as Africans on the continent and as Black Americans in the United States. Our ancestors, both those who were taken from Africa and those who stayed behind, endured the same violence, the same exploitation, the same dehumanization. The chains that bound our forefathers may have been physical at first, but they have always been reinforced by mental, cultural, and economic chains. These chains were forged by colonialism, by slavery, by the forces that sought to erase us, to make us invisible, to deny us our worth. But what we must recognize, and what we must always remember, is that we are bound together by more than just the wounds of the past. We are bound together by our shared resilience, our shared spirit, and our shared desire for justice. Black America's fight for freedom and dignity is inseparable from Africa's struggle for sovereignty and self-determination. When Black Americans marched for civil rights, demanding an end to segregation, demanding an end to police brutality, demanding equality under the law, they were not only fighting for themselves, they were fighting for the world. They were fighting for every Black person across the globe who had suffered the same fate, who had been made to feel inferior, who had been denied the right to live freely. The marches in the streets of the United States echoed in the streets of Kinshasa, in the townships of South Africa, and in the villages of the Caribbean. And let us not forget the profound influence that Black America has had on Africa's struggle for independence. In the 1950s and 1960s, as African nations fought to break free from colonial rule, the leaders of these movements looked to the American civil rights movement for inspiration. The courage of Martin Luther King Jr., the defiance of Malcolm X, and the strength of the Black Panther Party did not just fuel resistance in the United States, it sparked a global consciousness. Figures like Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, Patrice Lumumba in the Congo, and Nelson Mandela in South Africa were inspired by the words and actions of Black Americans. They saw in the fight for civil rights a reflection of their own battle for liberation from colonialism and apartheid. But this solidarity was not one-sided. As Africa fought for independence, the fight was always deeply connected to the struggle of Black Americans. In the trenches of the civil rights movement, Black Americans found inspiration in the African liberation struggle. The same forces that sought to control Africa, the European colonial powers, the system of white supremacy, also sought to subjugate Black Americans. Our struggles were one and the same, and the victories of one were celebrated by the other. The connection between the African diaspora and Black America is a thread that runs through the history of both continents, a thread woven with the blood of our ancestors, with the sweat of our labor, and with the fire of our resistance. But let us not be mistaken, this unity is not just a matter of history, it is a matter of necessity for our future. The systems that oppress us, the forces that exploit our labor, that steal our resources, that marginalize our voices, they are the same on both sides of the Atlantic. The same corporations that extract wealth from Africa continue to profit off the oppression of Black Americans. The same global powers that perpetuate racial inequality, that justify police violence, that create systems of economic disenfranchisement. They are the same forces that have kept us apart. They want us to believe that our struggles are different, that our paths are separate, but they are wrong. Our struggle is the same. We must reject the idea of separation, of division. The forces that oppress us want us to fight each other, to believe that we are different. But we are not. We are bound by a common history, a common struggle, and a common destiny. The success of Black America in its fight for justice, for equality, is not just a victory for Americans, it is a victory for all of us. And the progress that Africa makes in its fight for sovereignty, for development, for dignity, is a victory for Black America. When one of us rises, we all rise. When one of us is oppressed, we are all oppressed. It is time for us to come together, to build the kind of solidarity that can truly change the world. We must recognize that our fight for freedom is not just a fight against racism, but a fight against the entire system of oppression that has kept us in chains, both physically and mentally. This is a fight against the economic exploitation of our resources, the denial of our labor, and the theft of our culture. It is a fight for our children, for their future, and for the world we want to leave behind. Our unity must go beyond words. It must translate into action. We must work together to create economic systems that serve us, that empower us. We must support Black-owned businesses, both in Africa and in the United States, and create networks that link our communities, that strengthen our ties. We must build institutions that reflect our values, our cultures, and our needs, and we must support each other in every sphere of life, whether it be in politics, in education, in the arts, or in business. Most importantly, we must raise our voices together, louder than ever before. We must speak with one voice, demanding an end to the systems of oppression that continue to haunt us. We must call for justice for the victims of police violence, for the end of racial profiling, for the dismantling of the prison industrial complex, and for the recognition of our humanity. Our fight is not just for our rights, it is for our survival, and it is a fight that we cannot win alone. Together we are unstoppable. Together we are stronger than the forces that seek to divide us. Together we can create a world where our children can walk in dignity, where they can live free from fear, where they can inherit the legacy of resistance, pride, and power that we are building today. So let us stand together shoulder to shoulder as one people, one family, one nation of the Black diaspora, and let us show the world the true power of our unity. The time for division is over. The time for solidarity is now. My brothers and sisters, the fight for freedom, for justice, and for equality cannot be separated from the battle for our culture, our history, and our identity. We must never forget that to know who we are is to know where we are going. Without the foundation of our past, the strength of our ancestors, and the wisdom of our culture, we are like trees without roots, vulnerable to the winds of oppression and exploitation. For too long we have been taught to forget, to erase, or to devalue our culture. Our history was written by those who sought to subjugate us, to enslave us, to exploit our labor and our genius, while keeping us from understanding the greatness that lies within us. They tried to strip away our heritage, our languages, our traditions, and they succeeded for a time. But now we stand at a crossroads, at a moment where we have the power to reclaim what was taken from us, to honor our ancestors by ensuring that their legacy is not only remembered but celebrated. It is time for us to reconnect with our roots, not just as Africans on the continent, but as a collective people across the globe, as members of the African diaspora.